Welcome to Between Two Molars, an open conversation of the wins, setbacks, and messy middle of business ownership. A new kind of podcast that pulls back the curtain. No fluff, real conversations, real lessons, and the real life of running an orthodontic practice. So sit back between two molars and let's get into it. Welcome to Between Two Molars, the space where real orthodontic conversations happen.
I'm Diana Weaver.
And I'm Michelle Shimmin. Together, we're diving into real life challenges, wins, and wisdom from inside orthodontic practices.
So grab your coffee and get comfortable. It's time to talk Between Two Molars.
And today's segment is on doctor versus owner or CEO. So wearing two hats without losing your mind.
This is a great segment. The working on your business versus working in your business can present a pretty big challenge for a lot of doctors, I think.
And frustration. A lot of frustration because obviously you as doctors had a passion for orthodontics. You went to school for many years, stayed really focused on that. And now all of a sudden you find yourself as a business owner. Diane and I, both as business owners, can validate for what those challenges can be as well. And we wanted to just get everything out on the table and share some insight on topics and conversations that we have often in really finding appropriate boundaries and arming you as the doctor and the business owner in really finding that balance of when and how to work on the business versus working in the business.
Because we hear it all the time. We went to school to learn how to move teeth.
Yep.
We didn't go to school to learn how to run our business. Being intentional with the how to run the business is important because you have to carve out the time in order to work on your business versus in your business.
And there can really be times when doctors experience some emotional tension between the challenge of wanting that clinical excellence and the necessity of making business decisions as well. Sometimes those align and sometimes those can have some conflict.
So what are some misalignments? Overhead cost maybe with creating some efficiencies in the business and working on the business to how to lower those costs?
Exactly. And I see that a lot with staff overhead, with team overhead. We can, as an orthodontist, we can really appreciate how our team contributes on a daily basis, how our patients love our teams. And in managing what payroll overhead is, and nowadays the struggle that doctors face and business owners face with that can really create some tension as well.
I remember years ago being in an office and hearing this, not for the first time, but it really resonating with me. We were looking to... Did you lose your hearing?
I lost my hearing.
Well, that's not distracting.
Right. There you go.
So
get it right back up.
I remember working with a practice and we were looking to hire and onboard a new office manager. And this owner, this doctor, didn't want anybody with experience. And it was a very peculiar request to not have anybody with experience. And I asked him more, tell me, that's our term we like to use.
Tell me more about
this. Tell me more about the reasons, the why behind this. And he distinctly, I'll remember it to this day, said, Diana, I want somebody, because I cannot always work on my business, I want somebody that has that business mindset, that's not stuck in this world of orthodontics and dental, but can bring a different perspective to me that I haven't been getting.
Yeah, very wise approach.
A wise approach. And it really resonated with me on this is a great opportunity for your business to elevate it in a different way.
And it's actually extremely beneficial to bring somebody along when you are ready for that focus, to really focus on the business without robbing you of the time of working in the business. Without having to take everything home with you at night, working until 10, 11, 12 p.m. our goal for our doctors is to really create that work-life balance to where you can maintain that level of passion that took you into orthodontics in the first place. So that's really a goal that we look for, and it's a frustration that we see in most doctors.
The work-life balance is a little bit of a tricky thing too. I like to use alliance sometimes.
Ooh,
it's an alliance because sometimes your balanced scale is going to tip one way or the other, and we need them to be in alliance with each other, building off of, sometimes I'm going to be deep in work and less in home, and sometimes I'm going to be a little bit deeper in home and a little bit less in work. I mean, you and I deal with this as business owners all the time, right?
I love that word.
We travel, but when we're home, we're intentional. We're focused on our family. We're purposeful. I get to take my kids to school. I get to pick them up. I don't negate the importance of working with our clients as well, because I definitely prioritize that. Probably too much on sometimes, but I love it because we have a passion for that.
Being purposeful and intentional when you are outside of the office is something that is really important and really valuable. But in really understanding how to set boundaries, this is a guideline that we start to look for, because when we have appropriate boundaries set up, we can minimize the resentment that the team members can feel and or your personal family can feel if we don't have those appropriate boundaries set up. And we were just starting to talk about how to bring on somebody that can really be an extension of you as the orthodontist in the aspect of CEO, working on the business. And so somebody that can understand the business aspect of it. And number one, this is our philosophy in all coaching we teach, obviously, but effective communication and leadership skills. I think if I was looking for somebody in that role for an orthodontist, I would look for somebody that is a very, very good communicator and a very strong leader, which, our philosophy is leading by example, serving others outside of your position, but inviting others on that journey. And so when you have somebody with really strong business sense, you can utilize their skill sets to bring those metrics and those business decisions to the table, and to provide recommendations for you as the doctor as well. So that really helps shoulder a lot of the weight. Now, that takes time to build that trust. So, team members that come on into that role, or maybe you have a team member that you're going to develop into that role as well. Right. Before you start delegating some of those high-level decisions or tasks, you do have to really build that trust. And we really encourage doctors to stretch their comfort level in that area. It's only going to make their lives easier, make their lives so much better in the long run, but stretch their comfort level in what they're going to allow that team member to do. And then we encourage that team member to stretch themselves as well and try to provide guidance and recommendations.
It's also important to start with the end in mind, though. Yeah. So if a doctor doesn't know where they want to land the plane at the end of the year, at the end of their career, what's their trajectory, what is their long-term decisions, it's going to be difficult and challenging for them to communicate what those expectations are with this, partner in crime, this office manager, or this leader, team member. Maybe we don't give the title necessarily of office manager or director of operations.
Because a lot of doctors are afraid of that. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
That's a position that when you get a lot of arrogance and a lot of dictatorship involved in it, it can destroy a team.
I would agree that culture can really go downhill really fast.
Very fast,
in that. But having a doctor who understands where he or she wants to be and what's important to them, we can then backtrack and move this goalpost. Okay, now what's before this goalpost? What's before this goalpost? If we have those mini goals, it makes that journey more fun. It makes that journey more measurable,
successful.
It makes that journey more successful.
I often ask, if I had a magic wand, what would you want out of it? And then we work backwards from that. But I love when you said to really understand where you want to land the plane. And that goes along with the analogy that I use often about athletes and crew. Like, you put these athletes in the boat, we can't simply yell at them to row faster and harder.
Why not?
Right? Why not? A lot of doctors try that concept.
This is
Let me
true.
know how it works.
Not very well.
Our goal is to bring the winning formulas to the table in these conversations. And we see it often where doctors are fearful of sharing numbers. Now, there are benchmarks and parameters in place, bumpers, if you will, on what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. But we can't simply just tell our team to start more patients. We need more starts. We need more starts. We need more starts. Because essentially it's like putting these athletes in a boat and saying, row harder, row faster. You don't know what direction you're going in, and you have no idea where the finish line is, let alone if you're going to cross that finish line first. And think about how much more vested the team members are when they know that finish line. They know what it takes out of each one of them, because every athlete on that boat has a different purpose.
And how excited they get when they reach those goals. They're like, yes, high five, let's go.
We can see that finish line. We're almost there. Let's pour it on heavy. Let's finish strong. They all are participants in that process. So I guess my goal in this conversation right now is to hopefully inspire doctors as owners to recognize there are ways to help shoulder a lot of the weight and the stresses that you feel as a business owner, as well as a CEO of a business and as an orthodontist that also has to and desires to maintain that clinical excellence.
So where would a doctor start this process? With the goal.
Absolutely.
Where do we want to land? Is this going to be a boutique practice? Is this going to be a high volume practice? Do I want to work less and make more? Because who doesn't want that?
I mean, I have some doctors that say, hey, I'm perfectly fine where I am right now and what I'm making, and I would like to work less but make the same. So there's another concept as well. And I think the journey on where they are in their career is going to impact that course. And that's why it's so important to understand that end goal and start with 1 to 3 years and then move to 3 to 5 years. We're not talking 15 to 20 years. Just put something in place and work backwards to implement that. So you asked where, we start with that. And really what we want to do is build a support structure and really recognize and understand areas that you could potentially delegate with safety bumpers in place to protect your business. We're not simply, like I say all the time, abdicating authority or responsibility. We're just simply delegating with high levels of accountability benchmarks in place.
The accountability is the key piece.
Right.
And how the frequency in which you're meeting with these team members to have them report back to you on what these benchmarks are and how they're feeling in this delegation process. How often do we hear doctors delegating out things and the team members says, I don't actually enjoy doing that. I don't actually want to do that.
I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is important that we have the right people in the right seat for you to get the results that you're looking for as the business owner. And when we look to put in those leadership layers and that structure in place, we need to have data dashboards. We need to, again, remove perception and feelings. I feel like I'm doing a really good job. The doctor might have a different interpretation of what a good job is. So benchmarks, data dashboards are very important. And I firmly support meeting weekly. Now, these should just be, we're talking about the pulse of the practice on a weekly basis. If you are putting this type of structure in place and you are looking to have an additional support layer in your business to open up more time for you to work in the business, but recognize that your business is still being worked on, cultivated and growing, you should have these meetings once a week.
It's important for the team members too, because we've been in offices where the team members are craving that feedback loop. They need to know that they're on the right course, they're on the right track. This is meeting and perhaps exceeding the expectations that the doctor has for these delegation pieces.
Or making a pivot decision or a decision to pivot if something is going off tracks a little bit.
Course correct
before everything becomes problematic. Because we can recognize as, we start to derail just a little bit, but let's course correct before we completely derail the train and there's reactions.
Because that's where those frustrations rise exponentially.
And that's actually probably the number one trust killer. It's like, nope, this person doesn't know how to do that. They're not very good at that. I don't trust them to do this. So that's a benefit of what those weekly touch points and meetings look like. And we highly advise having a document structure in place, not just to come to the table and say, how's it going this week? It's going great. Are we on track with goals? We're on track. Yes or no? I think that there should definitely be structure behind that so that office manager support role can come and report on a weekly basis. And it should be very high level data metrics for sure.
Well, and also when you have those written down, you can reference back to maybe 2 months ago where we were perhaps struggling a little bit. Now we can really create and generate some celebration on these pieces as well, because we've kept these. They're written documents. Where were we? Where did we want to be? Are we there? Or do we need a little bit extra oomph to get us there?
Let's talk a little bit about some speed bumps that are pretty common when we're looking to develop this role within a practice, because they will happen. And it is not necessarily indicative of that individual not being the right person.
Right.
We have to recognize that you as the doctor and the business owner are developing a person and a role, and you're both doing it together. You are developing a skill set to be able to delegate and trust. We're also developing this individual as a high-level business support role.
An advisor to the doctor.
Yep. That's an extension of what we do every day, all day as consultants and business analysts. I love nothing more than to go into a practice and develop a person in that role for that doctor for longevity. And when you can get that recipe dialed in, it's magic. There will be mistakes. I don't want anybody to go into it with rose-colored glasses on. And just because a mistake happens, I want you to be able to recognize that it is a learning opportunity. This is an opportunity that we just identified that doesn't work. Let's do it this way instead.
Because you can't learn if you're perfect.
Oh, amen, sister. Right? That's a whole nother segment when we're going to talk about on performance reviews, right? I love it when I get a performance review rated all 10.
All 10s.
And I want to raise.
Right. Eliminate those perceptions really quickly. Sorry, I derailed us.
I do. We have a tendency to do that pretty regularly. But I do want to provide hope that these, again, change your word from problem and challenge or mistake to opportunity, and it will change how you look at a situation. So when you are growing and developing, you as the doctor and the business owner, and helping to grow and develop a team member or an individual in the role of a business support role for you, there will be speed bumps and hiccups. But those are the opportunities that you get to learn from, and you get to learn and grow, and you get to help this team member learn and grow from. Clear, open communication with very clear expectations is the number one piece of success to that recipe.
That is a great recipe.
So I, was recently on a coaching session, and we're working in a practice where we are developing an individual, and this individual did have orthodontic experience and had management experience. And I would probably quantify this individual more as a typical office manager, where there, a little bit of arrogance. Everybody needs to know that I'm the office manager.
So more of a manager,
yes, 100%.
Versus a leader.
100%.
Okay.
But very, very teachable.
That's great.
Which I am just thrilled over, and very intelligent and intuitive, and is really growing into a great extension of the doctor and a great conduit for team advocacy, patient advocacy, and the doctor advocacy. So I really like a balance of all three of those. You don't want to have an individual in a leadership role that is only advocating for the team.
Absolutely not.
We want somebody that has that intelligence and that awareness that to have a very successful business, we want to, yes, be able to advocate for the doctor and the business itself, balance that or align that with patients' expectations so they can be the patient advocate and the team's advocate. And that's somebody that is not going to be complaining about the doctor to the team members. That is not somebody that is going to be gossiping and or even facilitating a platform for other team members to gossip to. They're going to have a skill set that can turn those conversations around into more of a productive conversation of growth.
Well, because they need to be able to have an ability to share doctor's perspective with the team members and team members' perspective with it to the doctor.
Yep.
With how do we come together in making this beneficial to the practice and the team together.
Right. So another example I have actually that just came to mind, I've been coaching a number of weeks on a different practice of this person was already in this role and in place, and we're really trying to enhance their skill set. And they would go to the doctor often and say, we're understaffed and we don't pay our team enough. Now, what we identified and recognized was this was a management technique out of fear, fearful that we were going to lose team members, and it's very hard to hire. We all know that right now. And we never want to manage or lead a team out of fear.
Right.
And so it was really great opportunity for us to develop this individual to recognize the key benchmarks in our industry. You know, we know as advisors, we know we want an X amount of production per employee. We know that we want our payroll overhead between a certain percentage. We know that we want a certain number of clinical patients seen per day per assistant. These are benchmarks and metrics that we look at before we then advise if a practice is understaffed or overstaffed.
Because the math.
The math.
Yeah. 2 +
Or
2 is always 4.
The math doesn't math, right?
Right.
So those were really great opportunities for us to develop this individual to know, let's take a look and see, are we understaffed? Are we overstaffed? And then dive deeper into what the real challenge or problem was and how the team, if in fact this team was overstaffed, but how are they feeling so overwhelmed? So it's really purposeful in the direction that we can look for strong, effective solutions in this situation.
A whole different topic I'm thinking of is scheduling and templates, and you're overstaffed, but how do you see it in the math? Sorry, again.
It's all numbers.
Digressing. It's all numbers. It gets us really excited to see the data.
It does.
Because we coach and train on numbers and data, not feelings.
Yeah.
Feelings change, feelings come and go, but the data always tells us what we need to know.
And it is important for the individual that's going to be in this role for you as the doctor, the CEO and owner of the business, to understand those benchmarks. And the more they can understand those benchmarks, the more they can support you in being able to put some healthy systems and processes in place and help the team see it as well. So in a situation like what we just talked about, you know, yes, the team is feeling overwhelmed and overworked. In fact, though, the practice is overstaffed. So what do we do? So what we did was we shifted to some different direction to see what opportunities did we have to grow the revenue in the business to allow us to have either more money to pay the staff or to hire a new person. And it's interesting, you know, to find this balance. And we do talk about this in another segment when we're talking about what is healthy for the doctor to share with the team regarding numbers and what isn't. There is absolutely a certain set of numbers that you should be arming your team with. Otherwise, you're just throwing them in the boat and telling them to row harder.
Right.
But we want to keep those boundaries in place for sure. And when we're talking about this, you know, leadership support role, development CEO, office manager role for you as the business owner, it is important that that individual can understand what do we have in the staff bucket of revenue. They don't need to know all of the other expenses, but this particular expense is an area that we can empower this individual to help support, control, improve and grow because they do have influence over the rest of the team.
So if you had to choose one big takeaway from this, what would that be?
I would feel really, really strong in recommending that you build a support structure that develops a trusted leadership with layers of accountability, include data dashboards, metrics, and decision filters. But don't be afraid of the opportunities that speed bumps will provide us, that you will face those speed bumps. So this is a great topic. We can continue on. But we wanted to thank you for tuning in from our chair to yours. We want to see you next time on Between Two Molars.
Don't forget to comment. If you have additional questions, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate, yes, to drop those questions in the comment section as well, and we can build off of that in a future podcast episode. But like and subscribe us and share us with your friends and orthodontic family.
Absolutely. And we'll see you next time Between Two Molars. Thank you.